So I want you to imagine that you're in the doctor's office. Your doctor comes in with their years of medical training and they're describing to you some prescription, some diagnosis, some important health information. And you may recall an experience where your doctor is saying a bunch of medical jargon, they're talking over your head, and it's not helping you make a good decision. Written medical information that you find online or in brochures is often communicated similarly. And if we can improve these sources of information, then perhaps these visits to the doctor will go more smoothly. Now, medical decisions are inherently complex and ambiguous and often emotional. And you can get so much information, you can have so many doors to go through, but all of them look the same and it can be hard to make the right choice. But research shows that when you get the bottom line meaning of your health information, the essential parts of it, that you're more likely to make good decisions. And if you don't, you might be more susceptible to making poor decisions or not being able to dissociate between credible and non-credible information. Now, part of the problem here is that medical experts can struggle to communicate to everyday people. And this is a problem anytime you have an expert in one domain communicating to a novice in that domain. I experience this anytime I talk to a computer programmer about coding or to a mechanic about my car repairs. In these situations, they're the expert, I'm the novice, and it can be hard to communicate across that gap. So how can the knowledge gap between medical experts and everyday people be bridged? Our solution has been to develop a formula of computational variables that can automatically assess a medical text. Our formula is called GIST inference scores because it provides a score for how much a text emphasizes the essential parts that you need to know and sort of avoids some of the unnecessary details. So to elaborate on this idea, think about how you water houseplants. If you give the right amount of water, your plants will thrive. If you give too little water, they won't get the ingredients they need to survive. And if you give too much water, they become waterlogged and they can't absorb what they need to survive. And this is often what it feels like when you're communicating with a doctor and they're just saying a bunch of medical jargon and it's so much information and you can't absorb it. So when it comes to medical information, you need the right amount of information conveyed at the right level. And we think our formula captures this property of a medical text. So our formula, GIST inference scores, is made up of 7 variables, but I'm going to simplify this to just 3 basic concepts. So our formula measures the degree to which a text is cohesive and the ideas relate to each other. It measures the use of meaningful verbs that convey meaningful actions. And it measures the degree to which it avoids sort of jargony language that might trip you up. So what we did was we applied our formula to existing texts from the National Cancer Institute website because they have texts about cancer written specifically for patients and everyday people and for medical experts. And they're written in very different styles. And what we found is that patient texts are written at a lower grade level, meaning they're communicated with simpler information. But those texts also have a lower GIST inference score compared to expert texts. So what we're sort of concluding here is that texts written for patients are often simple, but they're not necessarily meaningful. So what does reading a medical text with a high GIST inference score predict? In one of our studies, we gave 198 participants one of 4 texts about breast cancer and genetic testing. These texts all conveyed relatively the same information and facts, but 2 of them had a high GIST inference score and 2 of them had a low GIST inference score. And what we found was that participants who read the text with a high GIST inference score performed better on a post-test of declarative knowledge and abstract reasoning. Across 3 experiments, we found that reading a text with a high GIST inference score predicted better performance on a post-test of knowledge, abstract reasoning, inferential reasoning, and free recall. And these are all precursors to making good medical decisions. So the knowledge gap between medical experts and everyday people is a fixable problem. We can do this by developing helpful communication tools, such as an automated way to assess and tailor written medical information. And ultimately, the goal here is to make these visits to the doctor go more smoothly and be more collaborative. And if we can improve the way that we communicate, we can improve medical decisions and outcomes. Thank you.